Nothing has changed. Abuse is the same. Never, ever, ever trust a politician.
I'm here with Sanna from OUST. How are you doing, my dear? How's it going?
Good. Looking forward to the show.
Yeah, nice. Have you caught any bands today so far, or?
Today not yet, but yesterday we were here. It's
Okay.
nice.
Who did you end up seeing?
Crutches for sure, and Hardskin of course, and I don't remember the names of the bands before.
But it was good though.
Yeah, it was super
good.
nice. Yeah.
Nice. Oh, that's really cool. And it's your first time like playing in the UK, but you've been doing a lot of shows in the Netherlands recently, and completed a tour. But it is your first time playing in the UK. And are there any like UK bands that you're particularly fond of at the moment?
Oh, good question.
Sorry, it's a bit on the spot of a question.
Yeah. No, blanking out a bit.
There's a lot of good ones that I don't know, have you ever heard of, the Restarts?
Yeah.
The Restarts are good ones.
Super nice. Yeah.
Like, I think definitely like my top ones to check out are like Casa Nausea. Do you know those guys?
Yeah.
They're like Ipswich hardcore, yeah. And do you know the Sewer Cats? They're a Manchester band. They're fucking sick. Like,
cool.
Like Riot Girl, like garage punk.
Nice.
But yeah, like I mean, there's loads of bands playing this weekend that are just going to be great to check out.
Yeah. One of the bands that impressed me a lot from UK was Red Cage. They played on Gate Town Festival.
Okay,
and that was
sick.
a really good show.
Ah,
It's
nice.
really nice.
Yeah.
But there's more. I'm just not very good at remembering names.
It's just when you see them, you go, oh yeah, they're sick. Yeah, I remember them. Yeah. It happens. But you've also just like completed a tour, or doing a few shows in the Netherlands, basically, with Human Needs around Europe and stuff like that. How did that go?
That was super nice. So when the band started, we started with a guitarist called Marco, and he lived in Nijmegen back then in the Netherlands. And so he's originally from Rome, and he moved back to Rome. So, but he still kind of plays with us, helps writing songs, etc. So he's still part of the band,
Cool.
But not playing with us always because he lives in Rome.
Yeah.
But then we tried to go to Italy, and he also played in this other band, it's friends of his, Human Needs.
Ah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. So he was playing with both, like Human Needs.
No, he
and
played
you
with
guys?
us, and then we played with Human Needs as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
But
shows
he's
were
in
good.
both bands, yeah.
Okay, but they went well. Good shows.
Yeah. It was super nice. No, I
Yeah?
love Italy. Yeah, it's great.
Sick.
And it's like youth centers, squads, a lot of different places, self-organized. And then we also went to Slovenia. Our guitarist is from there, so
sick.
we played in Ljubljana, but then also visited his parents, which was great.
Aw,
Got a lot of food and self-made liquor and stuff like that. And in Zagreb, where you also have this great squad, where we played, and we played there before as well, so it was nice to be back.
Sick.
No, but it's very special to be able to do that.
Yeah. And these like DIY gigs that you're doing and going to squats and all this kind of thing, like because obviously the only experience that I've got of like squats and DIY gigs is kind of like in England. These squats, do they stay around for a long time, or do they have to move a lot? Okay, yeah, they are around.
So the ones in Italy, some of them were like we played in Florence in one squad, which was like already around since the 80s. So that's really nice.
Way.
Yeah, and they had this like huge boxing gym and skate park and library, all the things.
Wow.
So that's really amazing. Like there's a big history there, and some of the places managed to stay for a long time. But of course, many places get evicted as well.
Yeah. Why do you think those venues have stayed around for a while then?
It's a good question. I think it's always a combination of who owns it, and you know how much. Sometimes it kind of ends up in this void where nobody really cares for the place, or they
It just
can't
gets
really
left.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's a quite strong organization from people to kind of fight for the place as well. So I think it's a combination of luck and organization.
Yeah, it's definitely something that like I think the UK scene is struggling with at the moment. I mean, has for a long time. Like obviously there's, you know, technically like squatting is only a civil offence here, but it gets picked up on very quickly, and if it goes through the courts and stuff, like it does become a criminal offence, and but like you end up getting evicted within like 3 to 6 months. And you've got, like, all the fucking time for that building to then just be sealed up. With homelessness being such a massive issue in England at the moment, it's just a bit fucking disgusting, really.
It is disgusting, but it's also like I think they really understand that longer term squats can form a really strong infrastructure for movements to shape. It's also places where you can experiment living outside capitalist society, reality, different organizing structures. And I'm from the Netherlands, and I also squatted there, and there was a really strong squatting movement. And that movement also interfaces with the politicization of people, with them becoming more independent, more critical of the state, and realizing we can do these things ourselves. So it's this really... I mean, there's a reason for not only, of course, the holy ownership bullshit, but also understanding that it really creates strong community, and also, like when we had in Amsterdam this movement, because it was around for so many years, you also get knowledge that's really being like passed on to different generations, and it's a very, and now I see that because they then also cracked down on squatting in the Netherlands, and then for a while it didn't happen so much, and now there's a new generation starting to squat more and more, and they do get evicted quite quickly as well. But some of them have like amazingly picked buildings that are somehow, you know, are not so quickly evicted, like this building of a Russian oligarch, and there's this boycott, so he's not supposed to develop the building so they can stay, but you can really see that then people really have to figure everything out themselves from scratch. While when I started squatting, there was this really strong infrastructure and support and this mutual help and support that, you know, if you squatted a place and there was no water, there was no electricity, there was always somebody in the community who could help. We had our tricks, etc. And you can really tell how that makes a strong movement, the continuity of these places. But I must say, like for my work, I work on data-driven policing and the impact on racialized communities, and we also work with some groups from the UK. And for me, like the way policing is getting more repressive in the UK. It's really insane to see that with the new policing bill and like all these new kind of ways that it criminalizes the smallest, like what is it, conspiracy to create a nuisance and all this.
Conspiracy to be a public nuisance.
Yeah.
And then it's been brought in that tampering with national infrastructure. You can, like, people have just been sentenced to 21 years collectively in prison, and there was like 5 protesters that it's the biggest sentences that peaceful protesters have got in UK history. They've all got at least 4 or 5 years for like basically they've been done for conspiracy to tamper with national infrastructure. But the really fucking weird thing with that is that, okay, you're like, oh, national infrastructure, you have an idea of what that is, but they've changed what national infrastructure means. So it means like stopping traffic in certain places, which, you know, fucking like celebrations happen where it stops traffic and whatever. It's not just about protests and stuff, but it's really, really insidious, like what's happening with the police at the moment.
And I do think also the criminalization of certain celebrations or festivals which are important for certain communities is of course also a way to discipline. It's racist, but it's also a way to discipline people because again, that's also a very strong like community moment and to celebrate and just like punk is, right? it's for me like, yeah, you can see that. I mean, also on the mainland, right, in Europe, there's all these tendencies to more authoritarian kind of state building legislation that gives police more and more powers and more repression all over. Yeah, and I think that's it's quite insane.
It is, and like even in Manchester, really recently, there was a like a poll that went out, like a vote for like local Manchester constituents that was very swept under the rug. I only found out about it because I got an email from a police campaigning, like anti-police campaigning group that told me about it. It was like, vote in this fucking thing, and it was basically like asking if people in Manchester wanted extra funding to go to the police. This was the third time that this vote had been put out. It was like put out by Andy Burnham, who's our mayor. And in the description of it, they'd written, you know, it'll make your council tax go up, it'll make this, but if the extra funding doesn't go to the police, we think this is necessary. So what might have to happen is we have to cut public funding from elsewhere. Still, this was the third time that this vote happened. It was the third time that it was voted unanimously that extra funding shouldn't go to the police, and it still did.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's really scary. It's really scary, but I also think that it shows that I think that the government is pretty scared about people power.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, that doesn't help the individuals because they're put as these symbols of this is what fucking happens if you know, go against the grain. But it does show that they're stressing, you know, that people are rising up a little bit, which comes with a lot of shit, you know. But
yeah. And also the kind of like you do organizing, for example, like within the legal framework of like you know, campaigning for certain votes, etc., and then they just ignore it, right?
Yeah.
So which also shows that where does that legal trajectory get us in the first place? Like how is that so-called democracy and these consultancies of constituents is completely worthless if it's not, you know, saying what they wanted to say. But Yes, I mean, it's interesting to find out about stuff that's going on in Europe with that as well. Like, it's interesting to hear. And like one of the groups we worked with here was Northern Police Monitoring Project, and they do a really good job of monitoring police violence and racist police abuse, but also working
in the Netherlands?
No, in Manchester. Also working with bereaved families who lost a loved one at the hands of the police. So it's really, I mean, that's also for me great to be here.
Because in Manchester there was 6 young men were lost to car chase fatalities that were involved with this group also works with the families around these cases. It's
needed, man. It's needed. It's amazing work. Like definitely check them out.
What were they called again?
It's the Northern Police Monitoring Project.
Yes. That was who I got emailed about by this for this vote. Because I follow them. They're cool people.
So there's also this connection I have to Manchester, and also that like kind of organized anti-repression work, which I do think it's also compared to Europe. There is, I would say that certain things are way more repressive here. But also the community organizing is way more developed.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say so. Also, there's a really interesting history of police monitoring groups in the UK, which already includes a lot of like people with migrant backgrounds, racialized communities, and that's like something that's only slowly starting in other places in Europe, where it used to be a very kind of quite leftist white kind of space, which also did great work. But of course, you know, with all this development and changes, I think it's really great to see like people trying to organize from their communities and their experiences.
And coming together in those communities of white people, people of colour, queer people, like all that.
Exactly.
It very much when you're kind of pushed to desperation, even though the aim is to like separate communities, like it can also really bring together people of all marginalised communities to be like, wait, this isn't fucking on, like,
exactly. And I do feel like if for me the connection with punk, which is for me is more of an outlet and an expression, I wouldn't call, for me being in a punk band itself is not necessarily activism or but there is something about it that we come together and that gives us energy and kind of you find allies, find, and that's so necessary in a world that often crushes people and isolates them. So I think the value of these spaces is beyond only the culture or music, etc. There's something also that connects us and of course the strongly anti-capitalist kind of practices that we also uphold, like we always sell our merch and records for donation, and we're not doing this for profit. It's there's one of the songs which is called "Fuck Your Band," and it's about.
I was literally just about to ask you about that. Talk to me about Fuck Your Band. Let's go.
So it's something that I started seeing, and of course I'm a bit older, but like for me with DIY bands, it was always very non-profit and very. Like we didn't work with bookers or anything, it was very self-organized. And then I saw more and more bands going into this kind of professional structures, and a lot of the spaces that I volunteer in, they kind of use this kind of DIY infrastructure, but then kind of monetize or kind of create all this kind of professional standards with like bookers and exclusivity deals. And I was really on a certain moment like, fuck that. Get out of our places. You have all these commercial venues, you have this whole bullshit industry. But it started to kind of creep in on the DIY spaces. So fuck your band is really about that, like fuck your booker, fuck your writer, fuck all this kind of professional standards. And also this is no industry, this is community, and that's for me really important. And I do feel there's a generation that sometimes has different ideas about this. That's sometimes a bit painful for me to see, and it can also be problematic. Because, for example, a lot of bands play festivals. The festival industry is gigantic. They can give a lot of money to these bands.
And the shareholders that are involved in these festivals, that the money's coming from and that they're profiting off is you don't always know. There's loads of bands recently that have like dropped out of a load of festivals because Barclays has been one of the major shareholders, and Barclays is a funder of Elbit, who is the main weapons manufacturer that's killing Palestinians. So it's like, and you don't always know about that either.
No, exactly. So there's and then because these festivals pay these bands so much, then you get this standard, and then the small venues cannot afford to have these bands playing. Which is just sad. Also, like that kind of festivals, fuck it. But
of course,
It's also not my vibe, to be honest.
Yeah. What's your opinion on like, so also there's the idea that we want to work towards a society where people can live off the art that they produce, instead of having to like have a job that they fucking hate, and then at the weekends, you know, that funds them to be able to go and do gigs and go and do what they love. Like, obviously that's great, that works for some people, but it's not the ideal. You don't want to be doing that forever. You want to be able to live off doing what you love. And obviously we all want to work towards not being in a capitalist society, but in our lifetime that's not realistic. So what's your opinion on kind of working towards being able to live off that as a band?
Yeah, I wouldn't choose for that within the current society, because I think it forces you to become more commercial and to have profits, etc., at the expense of things that I enjoy more, which is playing DIY spaces. But it's also like, I really, for me, it's like being involved in, for example, DIY. So I'm a volunteer, our drummer puts up a lot of shows. It's like this, again, this like, there's a reciprocity in the process. So when we play, you know, we get food, we often get sleeping places, like, are like, that's covered for. So for me, that's already amazing. And that's like, and then in return, I play, or so it's a completely different logic. I mean, of course, it would be great if we could live off what we love, but I think in the current system, it's really hard to do that in a way that it doesn't kind of fuck over, because somebody pays for it.
Someone's gonna get fucked over.
So I do think that there's some, like, of course, with things like Patreon, and like where people like make a podcast, and then people just pay a subscription, and some people manage to make a living of that, which is great. You know, I also feel that I'm not dogmatically against that, of course, at all. But it really depends on, because in the current system, I think it does mean, and to be honest, a lot of these bands that go professional don't get that much money in the end, because a lot of the money goes to different things, right? So,
well, you never make a lot of money when you.
I wonder. I mean, in theory, if we would think this through, that we could organize a system where, and we did, of course, sometimes with these squads and DIY venues, where you can really play and kind of maybe have some income of that. But that's then within a structure that's already much more based on this kind of mutual aid, volunteering, community spaces, to try keep things at low costs. So it's not including bookers that get paid, or including promotion that get paid. You know, it's a very different system. And that's the only way I could, you know, perceive it. But I absolutely understand if people choose differently. It's just not my choice. I would never want to. I don't know if I
don't want to be led by profit, basically.
No, this is not something I do for that reason, and it would change things for me in a way that I wouldn't like it. Also, like if you look at the more official venues, like clubs, like small club or indie venues, it's fucking boring. You know, I got quite some friends who work in this field to be a tour manager, or arrange the backlines for these bands. And then, you know, you see all the backstages of these places. They look like super boring, soulless, some IKEA furniture, and then you hang there for hours. You're only engaging with paid stuff. It's a completely different mindset, a completely different experience. And I'm super spoiled with all this DIY kind of community-driven playing. I play for many years already, and there's so much more heart and soul in it that I really love. Every time we play in one of these kind of bigger venues, I always feel like,
This.
it kind of sucks, you know, and it's just like it's different. There's a different vibe.
Yeah.
And it's not my vibe.
It's nice to be brought back down to earth a bit sometimes though, and be like, oh, actually no, I do enjoy the communities that I'm around. Like having a bit of a comparison sometimes, be like, this isn't what I want actually. Like
No, but and also I do want to say like I'm not like there is some people that I know and friends that do, you know, play more in this kind of bands, and they also really enjoy it, and it's their choice, and I don't want to say like,
no, of course,
you know,
of course. Yeah.
I also
Practice
think like,
tolerance,
and also like, I mean, this is not something like these are not the people we should fight in this world, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's bigger fish to fry, basically.
Yeah.
So you've said that you've been like performing a bit in bands for like quite a while. Do you feel that being a woman, you have experienced like you've been treated differently by promoters or venues or other bands or whatever because you're a band that's fronted by a woman, or?
So I have to say I've been very lucky also from the beginning when I started playing that some of my friends really invited me to play, and I started to play in a Riot Girl band together with my sister, and then people were really like, they were really how do you say that, like really supportive and really inviting, which was great for me because I was very insecure starting, like, can I do this? And I do see that, sadly, because of the patriarchy, I do see that in a lot of girls and women. Even if they want to play, they really feel like, I don't know if I can do that, if I'm good enough. While, you know, guys are just like, I don't care if I can do it, I'll just do it. But this is, I mean, for me, it was a reason that I really loved Riot Girl and punk, because it felt so like accessible and like anyone can do it. It doesn't matter if you can or cannot play. And that really helped me to like start playing, and I've been quite lucky with that and being supported, and also people I think really enjoying the fact that that you are a woman playing in a band. I do think it's a bit sad that still, you know, in all those years, not that much has changed in terms of like, you know, if you look at bands and the kind of, there's still very little representation of other groups. And I think that's a bit sad. Like there's still sometimes bills with only white men on stage, you know, and I just feel that there's something nice about not being super anal about this kind of stuff, which also can, like, I feel inhibit or can be problematic. But I do feel that there should be, everybody who's organizing shows, etc., should be a bit more.
It should be on their mind.
They should really try, because you see it all the time. All the women doing the volunteering, the cooking, the bands, even the booking. But then who's actually on stage? Who, like, labels? Is there a female-run label? I know, like, it's very rare, and I think like we should really think more about, you know, be this supportive and inviting to people, and really think about that, and really try to promote people that are starting out in bands or doing that stuff, and
still a lot to do.
There's still a lot to do, and I do feel that now compared to some years back, I see way more like queer kids and trans kids like in the crowd. And there's some playing, which is great as well. So I like, it's changing, but too slow, of course.
Yes, I mean it could always be done quicker, but I think there's so many bands that are making such a good message at the moment. Like, I mean, Petrol Girls. That, like, they were the bands that made me be like, wow, this can be done, and they are still doing that. And then we have, like, you know, like even here, like Follow Your Dreams, who are headlining tomorrow. Kaz is just like an amazing front woman that have a super supportive band behind her as well. Like, there's a lot of amazing women, queer people, people of colour that are like making such a difference. Like even in Manchester at the moment, like Third Culture, they're like a kind of like rock hip hop group, like rock rap, and they've been like making some proper moves at the moment and just like there's deeper representation across bills a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And what I think, and it's a lot of discussions that I've had with people in the punk scene, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, but I think like it's about weighing up whether you feel that you can change a festival or an event by being the representation that you want to see on that lineup, or is it just worth being like, they only talk in money, so let's not give them the money by going. And I think that a lot of the time boycotting festivals and lineups by just not attending and not bringing a crowd can sometimes be better than trying to be the change within it. I think trying to be that change is great, but if there's an event or a festival that is just driven by money, then fuck it. Leave the dinosaurs to die and do their shit, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
Like, and I think that that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fuck it, you know, it doesn't matter. We put on our own lovely events, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
It's fine, it's fine.
Yeah.
But just to kind of finish this up, 'cause it's been a lovely chat, what have you guys got planned for the rest of the summer and like the year, really?
Yeah, so we were invited to play in Iceland on this Nordo Punk Festival, so that's
sick.
next weekend.
Fucking hell, okay.
Yeah, that's
sick.
amazing. We played at this festival in Czech, Fluff Festival, and then somebody there saw us and then invited us to
Love
Iceland.
That.
So
love that.
Amazing.
That's great.
Then in October we'll be doing, like in September we have some gigs. In October we will be touring with Cloud Red, which is a band from the US and their friends, and they asked if we wanted to join them. So that's super nice as well. We have new recordings already for, I think, 1.5 years or maybe 2 in the making.
Yeah.
So this is hopefully gonna be finally released this year. Very looking forward to that as well.
Sick.
And I just think like we get to play a lot. We would love to play more, but yes, jobs and families, etc. But yeah, we have some nice things lined up. Really looking forward.
Well, this is also the space to get some good networking in for more UK gigs, because there's a sea of people that put gigs on here, including Manchester Punk Festival, which you should try and get into, because that would be cool.
Yeah, definitely.
But that sounds like you've got an amazing year ahead, and I'm really excited to see you guys play. But yeah, it's been really nice chatting with you, Sanna. And
yeah, thank you.
Nice one.
Thank you.
Sick. There we go.